Welcome to the Boxing Talk Show.
Fair but firm.
With the Hall of Fame boxing referee.
I'm Joe Cortez.
And co-host John Zemel for all of Las Vegas.
Come on, guys. Let's touch them up. 3 fight. I'm Joe Cortez. Fair but firm. Welcome to the Fair but Firm show here with Joe Cortez and my co-host John Zemel. Saturday morning here in Las Vegas, Nevada, the boxing capital of the world.
Yes, sir.
My friends, we are ready to talk about some great things that are happening.
This is a very special episode today, Joe. This is a very, very special episode. I don't know if everybody's
what's so special about it?
Well, this is the great legendary Joe Cortez's birthday today. This is my fabulous co-host. It's his birthday, so everybody out there, wish him a happy birthday.
All right.
And coming on this show to entertain us on his birthday.
Well, you know what? I want to just say that thank you, fans, for the birthday wishes I've been getting on Facebook this morning and emails and text messages. But you know what? I feel like back in the old days when I was about ready to retire, I was about 28, 29 years old. I feel like maybe 35 right now. Not bad.
I bet.
I mean, it could have been a lot worse.
No, it could have been a lot worse, man. Yeah, you look about 35 too, so that's good.
I really feel that way, guys. Anyway, thank God I'm in good health and I'm ready to get going with the show today.
I'm excited, man. And we got a big one today. We got a big one. We talk about fights every week. And this week we have a really good fight because we have one of the number one pound-for-pound fighters in the world. Really, if you're talking pound for pound, and you get to number 3 and you haven't named this guy, then you got to start your list all over again. And it's Terrence Crawford, the great Terrence Crawford of Omaha, Nebraska, will be defending his newly anointed welterweight belt against Jose Benavidez Jr. And I think this fight presents some unique entertainment opportunities. No
question about it. And but before we go into that, I want to go a little bit talk about some of the great comebacks in boxing, and of course, we'll talk about Terrence Crawford, his comeback, what happened to him, and also Jose Benavidez, his comeback after shootings that occurred to both fighters.
That's crazy.
But we'll talk about that a little later.
Yes.
On the show. But let's go back to some of the upsets in boxing when it comes to fighters that maybe have been finished. They thought they were finished in boxing, or they had accident, something bad happened, and they come back to conquer the championships. And I can go back to the days when my dear friend, my mentor, Gaspar Indian Ortega, who got me started in boxing, and I remember him fighting Benny Kid Paret, and Benny Kid Paret beat a lot of top fighters. He ended up becoming a world champion, but Gaspar Ortega fought Benny Kid Paret and beat Benny Kid Paret, but it was a non-title fight. Gaspar Ortega never got a shot at the title until Griffith gave him a shot. If Gaspar already had 81 professional fights under his belt.
That's a lot.
So, therefore he was kind of washed up. He was still in his late 20s when he got the title shot, but he was 81 fights into it.
And that's pro fights. Those are
pro
not
fights.
Sparring sections.
He had 185 professional fights total when he retired.
So he wasn't even halfway done with his career.
No. After that Griffith fight, he fought another 100 fights.
That's crazy.
After that.
That's crazy.
But, it's unheard of these days. 1 year in 1965, Ortega fought 27 times in 1 year. 27 times. That's correct. 27 times. There were times where he was fighting 3-4 times a week. You look at BoxRec, look him up, and you'll see Gaspar Ortega's record. Unbelievable.
He's talking about BoxRec.com, which is the I think all the commissions just voted to be the official record keepers for all fighters across the world. So it's if you want to look up a guy's record, BoxRec.com is by far the best resource for that.
Exactly. Now we talk about comebacks. I remember Roberto Duran, of which I was a referee when he fought Iran Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
Roberto Duran was 35 years of age. That was after the no mas, and people said he was finished in boxing, but yet it was a great comeback. He came back and beat Iran Barkley when Barkley had just finished a couple of months before knocking out Tommy Hearns. So there's so many great comebacks in boxing.
And the reason I think we're talking about comebacks, Joe and I were talking before the show, I think that this fight on paper looks like a big mismatch in a lot of ways. A lot of people said Benavidez didn't deserve this fight. He got it through talking, but however he got it, I think this fight presents what I like to call the Rocky factor. If this was a movie, and you were rooting for the guy, how big of a story, how big of a win does this really make it? And the things that make it a big win are a comeback story, which who doesn't love a comeback story? We all love the Rocky movies. We all love stuff like that. And then a big upset. Big upsets are a big one. Anytime you can see a big upset, that's what people remember. The Buster Douglases, the other stuff. And then on top of that, you have bad blood, which I think this fight definitely presents. So this that's why we're going through different comebacks in boxing history. And obviously Duran's a huge one. I think another great one is Sugar Ray Leonard when he came back after 5 years off to beat Marvin Hagler, and no one saw that coming. That was a big upset and a big comeback.
Yeah. And of course, George Foreman when he
Foreman's comeback,
fought
yes.
Muhammad Ali, and Muhammad Ali knocked him out. But then he comes back 20 years later. He comes back and knocks out Michael Moore, becomes heavyweight champion of the world again, of which I was a referee in that fight
Against Michael Moore, yeah.
Yeah, he was 45 years of age, around my age.
Absolutely. And let's talk about what would make this a big comeback for Jose Benavidez Jr. This gentleman 2 years ago in his hometown of Phoenix, Arizona, was walking his dog, and a stranger ran up to him and shot him right above his knee, right above, I believe, his right knee. Got shot in the femoral artery, almost bled out, almost died. This was just 2 years ago. And he's come back. He's battled back. The doctor said he could never fight again, and he said, we'll see about that. And now he's fighting for a welterweight title, which is wow.
Yeah,
that's
and
unbelievable.
And he's up against one of the best in boxing, probably one of the top 3 in boxing.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Terrence Crawford is going to give this kid. I think he's going to take this kid to school.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, that's what should
Jose
happen.
Benavidez is a good young fighter, but nothing compared to his brother David, who holds a super middleweight championship.
He's a unified super middleweight champ. I mean, that guy's outstanding. He's everybody's been talking about him since the first Gavril fight.
Yeah. David is a good fighter. And he's tall. He has a lot of potential to be one of the good ones.
He's super lanky for even for super middleweight. He's big.
I think he's going to be there for a little while. But his brother Jose, I think Jose is has a heart, has determination. He may be focused, but he doesn't have the skills yet. I mean,
no, I agree.
Going against Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford is a master boxer.
Yes,
he's a southpaw. And he's gonna take.
But he does both. He switches, which is crazy.
Yeah,
and he fights successfully when he switches. He's not like a lot of guys who do it as a gimmick, kind of.
Yeah.
He's just as good almost with both hands.
Absolutely.
Do you see any how do you say this? Any weaknesses in his game? Because to me, he's got speed, he's got power, he's got fundamentals. He's a switch hitter. He can go from both sides. Defensively, he's outstanding. Really, he's a super complete fighter.
And what happens with a fighter like this? He has it all, but his chin hasn't been tested yet.
That's true.
You see, and when he gets in with a banger that can connect him solid,
an Errol Spence type, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Because but Jose Benavidez is not that kind of a fighter. He's decent.
He is a banger though, and if. So let me ask you this. Being that obviously he wants to get into Terrence Crawford's head, and it's working. We saw him swing on him at the weigh-in. We saw him get in each other's face in the media day. They've gotten in each other's face since Jose Benavidez. This is the funny thing about him. He made this fight not off skill, not off name recognition. He's been taunting and calling out Terrence Crawford so much since his last fight, on Terrence Crawford's undercard in Corpus Christi, Texas. He's been calling him out constantly, getting in his face to the point that they finally said, "All right, let's make this fight." And do you think that'll work to his advantage, or do you think it might work to be a disadvantage?
Well, it worked for him to get the fight.
It did work. Yeah, $500,000 payday.
It doesn't mean that he's gonna win the fight.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, a good example is last week.
Yes,
we're talking about Conor McGregor.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. That
with Khabib, all this talking, all this back and forth. It sold the tickets I paid for view, but. It didn't get Conor McGregor anywhere.
No. Do you think when there's bad blood in boxing, for instance, last week Khabib, that's not boxing, but for instance, Khabib versus Conor, or you look at go back, Fernando Vargas versus Oscar De La Hoya. There's a million other examples where guys really just didn't like each other. The Barrera Morales fights. Do you think that can work to a fighter's advantage, having that extra anger and extra motivation going into the ring, or do you think it's always a disadvantage because it's a distraction?
It could be a distraction to them if they let it go to their head, because what happens?
Start fighting wild.
What happens is you lose control, you get angry. Like I tell everybody out there, I used to want to get my fighters upset because I know when I got them upset, they're going to make mistakes, and that's when I was able to capitalize and get off on them, hit them with good shots. So Fernando Vargas and Oscar De La Hoya, of which I refereed.
That's so exciting. And that one was called Bad Blood. That was the name of that fight.
Yeah, exactly. It was called Bad Blood, and we saw a great fight that night. Me refereeing, it was an honor. Hey, guys, we're going to go into a brief commercial, and stay tuned because we got a lot of good stuff to talk about. Welcome back again here to the Favorite Firm Show. Hey, Joe Cortez and my co-host John Zemel.
Yes, sir.
John Zemel, going back to these topics of these fighters' comebacks in boxing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's been so many great fighters come back. I remember one of the upsets. Talking about upsets, guys get upset, they lose their control. Well, I remember Benny Kid Perret when he fought Emma Griffith.
Okay.
Back in 1961, I believe it was. There was a bad blood there because Griffith kept taunting. Perez started taunting Griffith at the weigh-in, and the weigh-in was the same day of the fight. It was the day before the fight back in those days, and he was taunting him, and I started calling him different names and calling him gay and all that because Griffith, a lot of people felt that he was gay, and of course he did admit it later on in his career, but he got upset that Perez was taunting him at the fight. He said, I'm going to kill you tonight. And that's just what happened.
My God.
He actually beat him so bad, and the referee didn't jump in on time. He got hit with about 25 unanswered punches, and
that's too many.
Perez collapsed right there in the ring.
Oh, God.
And ended up dying. I remember going with Gaspar Ortega to the hospital to see him, and he was at Roosevelt Hospital in Manhattan. And I remember touching his left arm. When he was in the bed, I touched him, and I would say, I pray to you, I pray to God you get well. When he died about 4 days later.
Oh, my God.
I was in that room with Gaspar Ortega and his wife, Ida. And that was just the beginning of my career in boxing. And to see something like that, wasn't a good thing to say, oh, my God, this is what I'm getting into. Mm-hmm. But those are the things that happen in boxing.
Do you think it's a good thing for the fans when, from a viewing standpoint, from an entertainment standpoint, we all know it sells the fight, right? When they have bad blood, when they don't like each other, definitely people are more likely to tune in. But do you think it actually ups the entertainment value? Do you think sometimes the fighters fight harder when they don't like each other, or they maybe try and hurt them a little more?
I think they come in there with a little bit of anger, or try to show him that you're the tougher one at the first round, but knowing that you can't lose that control. I'm going to go out there, I'm going to try to hit him harder, I'm going to try to take control from the beginning to show him that I'm in control. And sometimes it works to your advantage, but you can't let it carry through the whole fight because then you lose your concentration. And you're instead of being focused, you're not thinking right. And all the other training that you did up to that moment, it all goes down the drain because you're not focused anymore.
That makes sense.
And that's where you make a lot of mistakes.
I mean, you can see it a lot. You can see what Tyson Fury did with Klitschko, what he's trying to do with Deontay Wilder. A lot of guys, they try and get in the other guy's head. You saw it with Mayweather versus De La Hoya back in the day. You see it with Conor McGregor versus every opponent he has. You see a lot of times where guys, they try and rile up their opponent, try and get him to make mistakes, trying to get him angry. Right. And, a lot of times it works. And other times, you just poke the wrong bear, like you saw it also in Terrence Crawford's career. That gentleman, Derry Jean, that he fought from Canada, right, to defend his light welterweight title. And that guy was calling him out, saying, I'm taking your belt back to Canada. And then after the fight, that famous interview with him and Max Kellerman on HBO, when he shouted across the ring to him, you get what you were looking for? You get what you were looking for? So sometimes it does, I think. It adds some entertainment to it.
I think that that's okay. But like I said, the trainers, sometimes even the trainers get into the mix. They start taunting.
Oh, yeah. That happens a lot now.
The other trainer on the opposite side. And what they try to do is try to make sure that they get any little edge they can get.
Exactly.
To get the
psychological
win.
edge.
Yeah, psychological effect, yes. Edge. And sometimes it works. But sometimes if you're real smart and you've been through the ropes of many times and you know the game, you know that everybody tries any little edge they can to get you upset, to get your fighter upset. You see a lot of that happening.
You saw it in the weigh-in yesterday. Terrence Crawford he threw a punch, man.
He threw a punch.
I mean, that's something that if that landed, that would have been that's a big fine. That's a big.
Not only that, and this is where the promoters and the trainers, we got to tell these guys, they got to have these people in between these fighters because God forbid he would have tagged him.
That's
with
what
a
I'm
shot.
saying. That's millions of dollars out the window.
Not only that, but the fight would have been canceled. Yeah,
that's what I mean.
The whole canceled. Then who would have been the substitute?
It would have been awful, man. It wouldn't even have been fun. Would you have wanted to watch it on a one-day notice after it's his fault?
Yeah, I know. Then I will have to make a comeback and come
you
back.
You might have had to pop back in. Yeah,
I have to come in there and then fight this.
And you
guy.
don't want to fight on your birthday.
No, not really.
No, man. You'd have to fly out there.
I mean, it would be a good way to score a knockout.
It would have been.
But I mean, why not? Hey, I still got a little spark.
You can make the weight. I don't doubt that.
I got a little spark of the old flesh.
I know you do.
You know?
I've seen it. A lot of our viewers have seen it when they watch on the
if
video.
if the right one don't get you, the left one
It
will.
always has me. Yeah,
You
that's
know?
for sure.
So-
That's so funny.
But be careful because I may make that comeback.
You
one
never
day.
know, man. I don't think you'll ever ref again, but I think you might fight again.
I feel good.
You bopping around?
I'm ready. I'm ready right now. Like,
You've
you
been
know
jumping
what?
rope?
I mean, I'm ready.
You look great, yeah.
I'm ready to jump in right now. Hey, Charlie, hold me back, Charlie. Hold me back.
You might have to, please.
Hold me back. My engineer.
I've seen him do it.
My engineer is trying to hold me back. Hey, let me
That
go,
is
man.
so funny.
Oh, man.
Hey,
But,
let me ask you this: does this if I say if and I mean when, but if Terrence Crawford goes and wins this fight tonight, and does what he's supposed to do and retains the title, does it have any bearing on the pound for pound conversation? Because we've discussed this. The top three right now are probably Lomachenko, Terrence Crawford, and Canelo Alvarez. His resume is as good as anybody in boxing outside of Pacquiao, and it should be. But he hasn't won his last one in super dominant fashion, as opposed to who Terrence Crawford's accomplishments are up there with anyone outside of Manny Pacquiao. Period. His ability to completely unify the light welterweight division. He's got belts in 3 different weight classes. A unified one in light welterweight, and then his first fight won the belt in welterweight. This is a guy But would this move the needle at all, or is it just what he's supposed to do and it's against a lesser opponent?
It's just like a warm-up fight. But can you imagine this? Let's say Benavidez beats him.
That's the exciting thing, right? That's why you watch.
Is he going to be put up in one of the top 3 in the world? Because
Not top 3, no.
No, I mean, so how do you rate this guy, Benavidez? Nobody. Actually, he's just coming up. He's fighting for a title, but he upsets the champion. Does he deserve to be number 3? Because Terrence Crawford is number 3.
Yeah. I think pound for pounds are more body of work resume. I mean, and you do the official one for you're one of the official voters for ESPN, so you obviously are more of an authority on this than I am. But for me, what I've always seen it as is more of a body of work, not just one fight. But one fight obviously factors into it. Yeah. But I think you have to factor in more and more. Obviously, what Terrence Crawford has accomplished to become a top 3 pound for pounder versus what he would have had to do to get that recognition.
I'll give you an example. Buster Douglas, when he knocked out Mike Tyson.
Yeah, did he become
Tokyo,
number 1? Yeah.
Did he become number 1? Well, he became a unified champion.
Yes, he did.
But what happened when he came back when he had a first defense against Evander Holyfield?
Yeah.
I mean, Tyson was 40-1 favorite.
Yes.
To beat
Buster
Douglas. And here he goes. Buster Douglas comes back, fights Holyfield, gets knocked out.
Yes.
I mean, talking about a fighter to win a championship, fighting the baddest man on this planet.
Talk about an upset, baby.
Yeah, that was a big upset. But then again, Mike Tyson upset the fans and upset himself by not being disciplined enough to train and take
could not agree more.
Take his boxing more seriously.
Although one thing I think that gets overviewed a lot is he did knock him down, and that count was way more than 10 seconds. Like if you count that Buster Douglas count out, I agree he was not the same Mike Tyson, but he put him down for more than 10 seconds. I'll always argue he knocked him out. And deserved that.
I'm going to talk about that in a second, but let's go into a brief commercial.
Cliffhanger.
We'll be right back. Hey, welcome once again, fans. Here we're having a little practical jokes here on the side before right after the commercial.
Fun birthday show,
Charlie.
man.
Yeah, it's a birthday show. Why not? Let's celebrate. Let's have a good time. But I'm not going to get X-rated with anything because
that's probably for the best.
I'm a virgin. I just try to be clean cut as possible.
As well you can.
Of course. John.
Yes, sir.
Going back again to these fighters, we were talking about what happened with Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson.
Mm-hmm.
When Tyson put Buster Douglas down,
yes, he did.
The referee sent Tyson to a neutral corner, and he picked up the count from the timekeeper. The duties of a referee is to look at the timekeeper, pick up the count. The timekeeper was at 5,
mm-hmm.
and then the referee is supposed to pick it up at 6, 7, 8. But that didn't happen. The referee started when he looked at the timekeeper was at 5. He disregarded his count and started with 1.
Yeah,
just so he was already 5 seconds.
5 seconds in, which is a long time.
And Buster Douglas, probably would have not gotten up, and Tyson would have won by knockout.
No, he would have won by knockout.
Yeah.
He should have won by knockout.
Yeah.
And yes, I agree. He did disappoint the fans. Yes, it was one of the greatest upsets of all time. And guess what? That's boxing, as we all know. That's just there's certain variables that get thrown in boxing. We always talk about that. And it's not the most fair sport in the world, but it is because it's 2 men in the ring.
But that's why I want to start my conventions here with seminars for referees and judges to have refresher courses, and to make sure that the referees and the judges and everybody in boxing learns the rules of boxing. How do you count? When do you stop a fight? When do you take points? When do you disqualify a fighter? All these little things. And that fighter, the referee, unfortunately, and I hate to knock anybody, but it was in reality one of the biggest upset in boxing history.
Yes.
But how can you let
I agree.
a fight like that end with a knockout where Tyson should have been the winner?
When you talk about the biggest upsets in boxing history, that's usually number one on every list. It's just the way it is. It's people's number one thought.
Well, 40-1 underdog.
It's crazy.
You know?
And if you're Tyson, of course, yes, you didn't prepare enough. Yes, you got knocked out. But at the same time, how do you not carry around that all day long? You're like, hey, I knocked him out. What more can I do?
Yeah. But Buster Douglas ended up becoming unified heavyweight champion and lost it.
Very next fight. Yeah,
that very next fight to Evander Holyfield. Anyway, fans, boxing is just so crazy. That's why every week we try to bring you up to date some of the things that are happening in boxing and some of the things that have happened in the past and some of the memorable moments in boxing because of this game is a crazy game.
Yeah.
It's a game that it's not like any other sport. Something crazy always happens in boxing. If it's not a controversial decision, it's a controversial knockout. It's a decision that's rendered by the judges, or where we've seen so many bad decisions. But
of course,
then you got promoters that were fighting with each other. Sometimes you get Bob Arum and Don King.
A lot that happens too often.
And then it kind of hurts the sport. And but then sometimes they got together and were able to work out certain situations where a fighter from a top rank will fight a fighter from Don King Promotions, and it was not supposed to happen. But they say, let's come to our senses. Let's make this work because we can all make money from this.
Exactly. And that's what we need. A lot of times, especially going into 2019, if there's one thing, if I had one wish for the new year, it would be that we can get some of these big fights that we want, because we haven't been able to make a lot of them happen. And but they've been coming to a head, whether they're Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence, or Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, or a lot of these. Really, we only had one big super fight this year, and it's Canelo Triple G2. I think we should get a few more of those, don't you?
Well, I agree. I think I got to make the comeback. I got to make the comeback, guys.
Finally. Speaking of the biggest comebacks in boxing history, Benavidez coming back from a leg injury would be nothing compared to that. Would be number one at the top of the list. Joe Cortez comes back to.
If George Foreman did it at 45, why can't I?
You gonna fight bantamweight again?
No, I'll fight lightweight, but we're about the same age. Why not?
You are about the same age. You're about the same age he was then.
If he did it, I could do it too, guys. But I can tell you right now that boxing is a passion, a love that I have for the sport. It's like mixing a turpentine with Indian ink and make it a love potion. I love that.
That's for sure. I don't know what that means, but I like it.
There's a song that goes with mixing the turpentine and Indian ink, and you call it Love Potion number 9.
Oh.
So that's why I said I love the sport. So I'm going to call it Love Potion number 9.
It makes sense.
So it's going to be a good thing.
It makes sense to me. Well, that's beautiful. Well, boxing is beautiful, man. And when you have true greatness on display, like I think you do tonight, I think as far as my generation goes, as far as this generation, this era in boxing, when they write the book on the 2010s in boxing, Terrence Crawford's going to be in one of the front pages, and you guys have an opportunity to see him tonight for free on ESPN. The main event will come on around 7:30, so make sure you tune in. It's going to be an incredibly exciting fight.
Exactly. I also want to wish a happy birthday to my dear friends out there, Gaspar Indian Ortega, and again, Dr. Jose Colon, which I'm going to be spending some time with in the Dominican Republic in the next week or so. So we are a lot of Cindy, my daughter Cindy, as a Halloween baby.
Really?
As Christine, my daughter Christine, Sylvia, they're all.
Well, while we're doing this, my sister's birthday was 2 days ago, so happy birthday to my sister.
And of course, we have Chandler, to Daryl, and none other than Delyn. Birthday. She's happy birthday in 2 days from now.
2 days from now.
So happy birthday. Oh my
God!
To you.
Happy birthday, Delyn.
Happy birthday to everybody here. Happy birthday to all you fans up there.
Yeah.
Whether January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Happy birthday to everybody, guys. Keep your guards up at all times, and remember, I'm fair, but I'm firm. Touch 'em up. fair but firm.
With the Hall of Fame boxing referee
I'm Joe Cortez.
for all of Las Vegas.
Come on, guys, let's touch them up. Clean fight. I'm Joe Cortez, fair but firm.